Now we're back upstairs in the original offices. These offices were used by Butler up until the mid-40s, like 1947. Here's a couple interesting pieces of Chicago history. A City of Chicago foundry license. License number 66 from the year 1936. We never even put it on. It's still brand new. And if you're a resident of Chicago and you ever had to buy a vehicle sticker for your car, which the last couple of years are getting pricier and pricier, upwards of $100. Here's a vehicle license from 1911. And this is for 1 horse and 1 wagon. And back then, they only cost $5. And this is 3 vehicles, so obviously we had 3 horses and 3 wagons at the time. Back, we spoke earlier, you were downstairs and that was a livery stable. Well, these were the licenses for that. This is a really cool piece that we're really proud of. We recently recovered this out of a safe that was in a wall. These are the original books from the beginning of the company. They're dated Chicago, November 30th, or November 20th, 1891. And there's just a lot of pages of all the information throughout the years. Pictures. This is a classic picture. This is called Lunchtime on a Beam. Bunch of iron workers working during the Depression in 1932. Look, there was no safety issues. Matter of fact, this guy was drinking booze on the job. That's just the way things were done. But these guys here, they were immigrants too. You know, they were the immigrant flavor of choice. Maybe Germans or Irish or Croatians, but that's just the way it was. This is a letter of indenture. Basically, when you took on to do an apprenticeship, you signed a letter that you're basically an indentured servant almost. You didn't make a lot of money, you couldn't get involved in any unions, and you were totally owned by the company. This one here is dated June of 1906, and it's for Luke Houlihan. And his father had a cosign for him. We were talking earlier about mom and pop operations. Well, here's a picture of the original mom and pop. This is Arnold Hinkins. And this is his wife. They were immigrants of Germany. They came here, like I told you before, in the 1870s. And in 1891, they started their trip for the American dream. And he thought as much of himself and his wife to get this beautiful picture and frame made, that he also took and he had another picture frame made. And this is of the World's Columbian Exposition of 1893 in Chicago. Here's a bunch of tickets from the day. And these were very important pieces. This was restored. The frame was restored. This is the original frame. But again, we talked about that pride. You know, somebody thought as much of the Columbian Exposition in Chicago as he thought about his wife and himself. Right over here. And from what I understand, there's a lot of Butler iron that was utilized in this particular project. Again, highlighting how significant the impact of Butler has been on the Chicago area. The building of Chicago after the Great Fire, the building of the Union Stockyards, Century of Progress. I'm sure the Columbian Exposition, I'm sure we set some steel somewhere in there. And again, it documents our family business. It's a mom and pop operation. It's a Chicago business. There aren't really any businesses like ours left in Chicago. We're the last one standing. Place runs on a lot of heart. There's an old welding hood and old crucifix. This welding hood's really nice. It's a Lincoln Electric welding hood. Lincoln Electric, Lincoln welders were the first ones to make welding machines in the 20s, and that hood's probably from no later than the late 20s, early 30s, judging by the way it was made. Well, these are some old tools that were used by an iron worker, by Bud as a matter of fact. Here's his bag, spud wrenches. Spud wrenches say American Bridge. He iron worked on the Mackinac Bridge. I think these might have been the tools that he used. There's his hat. We kind of keep him up here. But these are his old tool bags. They got a lot of good old salt on them. This is one of those old fireproof safes. This was restored when I took over the foundry. I had my cousin come up here and he restored it back to the way it was. We basically went off of the old letters that we were able to read in the gray paint, and we put the black and the gold letters on, polished up the brass. And this was a fireproof safe. So we talk about things made, you know, we live in a society where things aren't made to last. Well, this must have done a good job because it's been here since 1891.